Today I am going to tell you something that no one has told you until now, and it will help you a lot in achieving your goals. Don't just listen, try to understand it as well. How to stay focused when you get bored working on your goals. After my baseball career ended, I was searching for a new direction in sports and life. Baseball had been a big part of my identity, and suddenly that chapter was over. I needed something new to challenge myself, something that would give me structure, discipline, and purpose again. Eventually, I joined a weightlifting team. It was completely different from baseball. In baseball, there is excitement, unpredictability, and team energy. But weightlifting felt more individual, more repetitive, and much more mentally demanding in a different way. Every day looked almost the same. Warm up, lift weights, repeat movements, track progress, go home. One day, something interesting happened. An elite coach visited our gym. He was not just any coach. He had worked with thousands of athletes over his long career, including a few Olympians. When someone like that speaks, people listen. There was a certain calm authority in the way he carried himself, like he had already seen every possible mistake an athlete could make. I introduced myself, and we began talking casually about training, discipline, and improvement. After a few minutes, I asked him a question that had been on my mind. What's the difference between the best athletes and everyone else? What do successful people do that most don't? He paused for a moment. I expected him to say something about genetics, talent, or even intelligence. And yes, he mentioned those things, but only briefly. Then he said something that completely changed the way I think about success. At some point, he said, it comes down to who can handle the boredom of training every day, doing the same lifts over and over and over again. That sentence stuck with me because it revealed something most people don't want to hear. Success is not about constant excitement. Most people think success is fueled by motivation, passion, or inspiration. We imagine successful people waking up every day feeling excited, energized, and ready to conquer the world. We see social media posts like, "Stay motivated," "Follow your passion," "Work harder than everyone else." And because of this, we start believing something dangerous. If I don't feel motivated, something is wrong with me. But the coach's answer revealed the truth. Even elite athletes get bored. Even professionals lose motivation. Even successful people don't feel like doing the work sometimes. The difference is not that they always feel motivated. The difference is that they continue anyway. The real challenge: boring work. Mastery requires repetition, and repetition is boring. At the beginning of any journey, everything feels exciting. When you start going to the gym, every workout feels new. When you start writing, every idea feels fresh. When you start a business, everything feels full of possibility. But then something changes. The beginner gains disappear. Progress slows down. The routine becomes familiar. And suddenly, what once felt exciting becomes ordinary. This is the point where most people quit, not because they failed, but because they got bored. Why boredom is the biggest threat to success. People think failure is the biggest threat to success, but in reality, boredom is much more dangerous. Failure is obvious. If something is not working, you notice it and adjust. But boredom is silent. It slowly drains your interest. It makes you question your path. It whispers, maybe this isn't for you. Try something new. You're not making progress. And so people start jumping from one thing to another, one workout plan to another, one business idea to another, one diet to another, one goal to another. They are not failing because they cannot succeed. They are failing because they cannot stay consistent long enough to succeed. The novelty trap. Human beings are wired to seek novelty. Our brain loves new experiences because they feel rewarding. This is why new videos feel more interesting than old ones. New ideas feel more exciting than repeated ones. New goals feel more attractive than ongoing ones. The philosopher Machiavelli once said that people desire novelty so strongly that even those who are doing well want change just as much as those who are doing badly. This explains a common pattern in life. Even when something is working, we get bored and switch. We abandon progress not because it stopped working, but because it stopped feeling exciting. Why habits become boring. Every habit follows the same cycle. Excitement at the start, learning phase, improvement phase, repetition phase, boredom phase. At the boredom phase, results are still coming, but excitement is gone. This is the critical moment, because success is not built in the excitement phase, it is built in the boredom phase. Variable rewards and human motivation. Some habits stay interesting longer because they include something called variable rewards. This means the outcome is not always predictable. For example, video games give unexpected rewards. Social media gives unpredictable likes and comments. Gambling gives occasional wins. Even junk food gives instant but varying pleasure. These systems keep people engaged because the brain loves uncertainty. Psychologists have studied this deeply. When rewards come unpredictably, the brain releases stronger dopamine signals, which increases motivation and attention. This is why slot machines are so addictive. Sometimes you win, most times you don't, but the possibility of winning keeps you playing. This balance of success and failure creates a powerful psychological hook. The Goldilocks zone of motivation. There is a sweet spot in learning and habit formation. If something is too easy, it becomes boring. If something is too hard, it becomes frustrating. But if something is just right, challenging but achievable, it becomes engaging. This is called the Goldilocks rule. For example, if lifting weights is too light, then you get bored. If it is too heavy, then you feel discouraged. If it is moderately challenging, you stay engaged. This balance keeps motivation alive. But even this does not remove boredom completely. Eventually, everything becomes familiar. The truth, you must learn to love boredom. No matter what system you use, no matter how optimized your routine is, boredom will eventually appear. This is unavoidable. That is why the most important skill in long-term success is not motivation. It is tolerance for boredom. Because writing every day becomes boring, training every day becomes boring, studying every day becomes boring, building anything meaningful becomes boring. But the people who succeed are not the ones who avoid boredom. They are the ones who continue despite boredom. Professionals versus amateurs. There is a clear difference between professionals and amateurs. Amateurs work only when they feel like it, stop when it gets boring, get distracted by mood and emotions. Professionals follow a schedule, work regardless of mood, show up even when they don't feel like it. Professionals do not rely on inspiration. They rely on systems. They do not wait for motivation. They act anyway. The power of showing up. Think about any long-term goal. There will always be days like, I don't feel like working out today. I don't feel like studying. I don't feel like writing. I don't feel like continuing. These thoughts are normal. The difference is what you do next. Every time you show up despite boredom, you strengthen your identity. You are not just doing the task, you are becoming the type of person who does it. Real-life reflection. Many people assume that success comes with constant excitement, but when you talk to successful people, you hear something different. They often say, it's repetitive. It gets boring sometimes. You just have to keep going. I personally noticed this in my own experience as well. There were many workouts I didn't want to finish. Many days I didn't feel like training. Many sessions where I wanted to stop early. But something interesting happened. I never regretted finishing, but I often regretted quitting early. Why consistency wins everything. Consistency beats intensity. A highly motivated day means nothing if it is not repeated. But small, boring actions repeated over time create massive results. That is why success is not about doing extraordinary things once. It is about doing ordinary things repeatedly. Final truth. Fall in love with boring work. If you want to succeed in anything, fitness, business, education, skill building, you must accept one reality. Most of the work will be boring, not exciting, not dramatic, not Instagram-worthy, just repetitive effort. But hidden inside that boredom is transformation. Because every rep, every page, every practice session is building something invisible. Discipline, identity, skill, strength, confidence. And over time, that invisible progress becomes visible success. Closing message. You don't need to feel motivated every day. You don't need constant excitement. You don't need inspiration to show up. You just need one skill, the ability to keep going when it gets boring. Because at the end of the day, the greatest threat to success is not failure, it is boredom. And the people who win are not those who avoid boredom. They are those who learn to stay with it.